Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Perth Common Good Fund Committee meeting for Monday, the 18th of August, 2025. Do we have any apologies? I'm aware of formal apologies from Councillor Drysdale, and I assume Councillor Lang is at the same meeting, but I'm not aware of any others, although Councillor McCall is not here, but everyone else is. Do we have any declarations of interest in respect of today's business? Yes, Councillor Rebeck.
Thanks, Convener. I have a direct family involved in coaching at Perth Park, and indeed I've offered some advice in terms of them getting set up. So I feel like I'm too close to take part in any conversation about that. So I will recuse myself when that one comes up.
Thank you very much. Therefore, okay, if we can move on to item 3 and item 4, the minutes of the last meeting on the 5th of May 2025. Can we approve those minutes, or are there any matters arising? Agreed. Thank you very much. We'll move on then to item 5, the applications for financial assistance. And first of all, we are looking at small grants, and the first one that we have is the Friends of William Souter Society are seeking £6,799.95 towards the Souter Volume 3 project. All that I would say here is that I know that the first 2 volumes are excellent and produced to a very high standard, and I was at the launch of the first 2 volumes, and those 2 volumes were gifted to me, given the contribution they'd had from the Common Good Fund. I felt it was unfair of me to accept those as a simple gift, and I therefore paid their retail value into the Common Good Fund in recognition of that. But I did want to keep them, but I paid the money back to the Common Good Fund, so I hope members are happy with that. The going forwards, my view is that William Souter, as a well-known son of Perth, this is something that we should be seeking to support, but perhaps not quite to the full extent that they're asking for, even though it is a very worthwhile project to my mind. This is the 3rd volume. I think they intend there to be 6 volumes in all. Once they get past, this is the first 2 volumes are his published works. Volume 3 is his unpublished works. Volume 4, 5 and 6 is all of his non-poetic writings and notes in other forms. So it is an ongoing project. But I'd be happy to recommend to committee that we make an award, leaving out the pence, of half what they're looking for, which is £3,400. Are members happy to agree that, or do people have questions? Agreed? Okay, thank you very much for that. Moving on then, we now come to the Support, Help and Integration Perthshire, and they are seeking £1,000 towards cost of trips during their summer activity programme. This is one of those applications where we are seeing it by virtue of committee timings after the event, which is not the fault of the applicant. Here, I think this is a very worthwhile endeavour, and what I'd say is that I'd be keen that we encourage this organisation to apply for grants in the future, and actually, given the cost of what they're doing, I think we could well, if you like, accept that we should be, we could encourage them to apply for rather more than they're applying for at the moment. But given where we're at, and it's actually post the event happening, I'm happy to recommend that we grant the full £1,000 that they are asking for on this occasion. Are members content to agree that? Okay, thank you very much. We now move on to Adventure Circus, and they are seeking a grant of £6,586 to contribute towards costs for the Dragonfire project. This is something that, as members can see from the papers, has happened in 2 previous years, and in previous year, 2 years ago, we gave them £8,400, last year £5,000. This year they are asking for 6,500 and a bit more. I think that this does attract, that there is considerable benefit to quite a large number of youngsters, I think, from this. And I'd be happy to recommend that we make that grant of £6,585.60, as is consistent with criteria 9.2 alpha. Our members agreed on that. Councillor Barrett, Peter.
Thanks, convener. I note that we provided a reduced award last year. I know this is the third time that the Dragonfire shows are requesting assistance. Do the schools contribute anything towards this? And do we know what schools are involved in the programme?
I have to admit that I am not aware of that. I'll ask Sarah whether she happens to have any additional detail. Sarah.
I don't have any additional detail on that, but would be happy to follow up.
Convener, I'd be happy to propose an award consistent with what we gave last year at £5,000 as an amendment.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions first? No. In that case, do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Hearn, Bailey Hearn, sorry. Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Okay. In that case, we have a seconder for the amendment. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Mayor, thank you very much. In that case, Adam, unless there are further questions, let's go to a vote on it. Thank you.
Thanks, convener. In line with standing orders, we'll go to a roll call vote. We have a motion proposed by yourself, which is to grant the full amount of £6,586, seconded by Councillor Mayor, and we have an amendment proposed by Councillor Peter Barrett, which is to award £5,000, seconded by Bailey Ahern. When I call your name, if you could indicate whether you're voting for the motion or the amendment. Bailey Ahern.
Amendment.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Chan.
Amendment.
Councillor Donaldson.
As per usual, abstain.
Councillor McPherson.
Motion.
Councillor Mayor.
Motion.
Councillor Massey.
Motion.
Deputy Provost.
Motion.
And finally, Councillor Rebick.
Motion.
I have 5 votes for the motion, 4 votes for the amendment, and 1 abstention. Therefore, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. However, I think Councillor Barrett, Peter, make a good point, and if we get a future application from them, I think Sarah will take the note that we will actually look to see what other funding they have and whether the schools contribute. Thank you. We now come on to Abadalgi and Fortiviat Church. Abadalgi and Fortiviat Church are seeking £4,687 towards their 2025-26 learning programme for children and young people at their Green Shoots Community and Learning Centre. This one Abadalgi and Fortiviat Church have applied in the past, and while the church itself is outside the common good area, the church parish includes quite large parts of the Perth City South Ward, and therefore I think it's quite proper that we consider this one, and a considerable number of the beneficiaries come from the common good area, and in view of the fact of the balance of urban settlement and rural settlement, more of them come from the common good area than actually come from outside. And I think this is a worthwhile project. and feeling quite generous today, I suppose. I would recommend that on this occasion as well, we award the full amount that they're looking for of £4,687. Are members in agreement with that, or do we have any other questions or an amendment? Agreed. Thank you very much. We now move on to Perth and Strathern 200 round table, and this is the Perth and Strathern 200 round table seeking just over £30,000 towards the cost of the annual fireworks event on November the 5th. We have a standing procedure to set aside £20,000 for this firework event. I know people have reservations about fireworks. I do know that they have taken steps to reduce the overall volume and noise of the fireworks, which I think is in good keeping with modern practice. I remain convinced that having a good, worthwhile central firework event that people, while they're legal, want to come to is better than not having an event, and encouraging by virtue of that lots of people to have small garden events. And given that last year's event had to be cancelled because of bad weather, as I understand it, and we didn't have the expenditure last year other than the unavoidable costs that they claimed, I would like to propose that we don't meet the full amount of 30,000, but that we make available the 20,000 that we set aside, and on this occasion, but without making any commitment to the future, we give them an additional 5,000 from the monies that were, if you like, not spent last year. Do people have questions on this one? Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Convener. I really have got two questions. The first question is, from memory, I don't think, have we ever awarded the full amount to the round table for the firework display?
I don't think we've ever, not for a considerable time, I don't think. I can remember, I think, years in the past when the amount that we awarded was consistent with what we provided, but I think in more recent years we've set aside this £20,000, and that has been a major contribution, but not necessarily all of the costs.
So second question is really about I've been at the firework display on numerous occasions. They go around with buckets collecting money for, I presumed it was for next year's fireworks event. Do we know what happens with that funds that they collect?
My understanding is that is a contribution towards the costs of the event. I'm not sure that it's charitable donations. Okay, Liz, do you want to come in on that one? I'm not sure.
Yeah, apologies if it's not in the paper, but in the application they've stated that it's charitable and that they give those donations to other local charities, and part of their part of the event is that they collect money that they can then distribute to other charities.
So in reality, we are actually paying for the round table to collect money to give to another charity. So we're actually paying for that money rather than them using that money that they collected the year before for the event the next year.
Yes, in a sense, yes, there is. It does create something of a circle. We are funding a major part of the event, but yes, if you like, they are collecting money to pass on to charities. Yes. Are there any further questions, or Councillor McPherson?
Oh, thank you, convener. It's just to clarify that the point in 5.35 is where it says that the display has been reduced from 20 minutes to 15 minutes. So the actual firework display will only last for 15 minutes, will it? Thank you.
Yes, they've reduced the overall impact, if you like, by a quarter in terms of time, and by something more in terms of the nature of the fireworks that they're now using. Although the exact nature of that, I don't know, but they have taken steps to reduce the overall noise level and the crescendo. Sorry, Bailey Hearn.
Thank you. So given your statement earlier that you would want to do the 20,000, which is what we've got set aside, plus the additional 5, that's going to leave them just over £5,000 short. But as far as I can remember back, they've never actually sought funding for anywhere else. So if we only give them 25,000, is this event going to go ahead?
That I can't answer. I suspect if they could not gain funding from another place, then it would be a smaller firework display.
Do we have an indication from previous years? Because we've never met the full cost before, but the event always went ahead, and I don't really see it being a smaller event. I don't know where they get the funding from, unless it's from what Councillor Massey was saying there was the money they're collecting.
The event has always gone ahead. I'm not sure that we have always funded all of it.
It is a question asked on the application form, and the answer that has been given, but this is the question is, what would the impact of on your project be if funding was only partially granted or not granted at all? So this could be a not granted at all answer. The event would not go ahead and no funding would be raised for local good causes, etc. As a result, we would also anticipate a significant increase in the number of smaller uncontrolled displays with no safety measures in place. But whether that is an answer for partial funding or no funding, it isn't clear.
Councillor Barrett-Liz.
And Sarah, do they also say how much they raise for charities in your form?
No, it isn't stated anyplace. We only ask about profit, because this isn't a profit, but I can certainly again follow up on that.
It does raise the interesting question of whether actually the question raised by Councillor Massey as to actually whether we want to continue with a circular situation where, if you like, we contribute to the costs, but they are seen as contributing to charity. And perhaps I don't think we can do it on this occasion, but perhaps on future occasions we should build it into or telling them that, you know, we expect the money they raise on the night to be part of what they're raising for the event, rather than being charitable donations, which if you like, they are able to make because we have supported the cost of the event. So we break out of that circle as such, and there is a contribution to the event. Councillor Bailey Hearn.
Yeah, my concern is it looks like we're funding the firework display, and I just wonder, given some of the organisations that are down here and the equipment that's required, if it was actually produced by the council, it would probably be cheaper, just given the contacts and the amount of times we use those companies throughout the year.
That may be the case, but it then imposes a burden on council organisational staff that I'm not sure we necessarily have. It's something additional to do, and it certainly breaks away from what we've always done in the past. but yep, it's possible for sure. Peter.
Thanks, convener. I'm happy to move that we grant £20,000 consistent with the budget. I think in the past we've seen a fairly steady increase in the cost of the fireworks displays, and each year we were being asked for an increment on what we'd provided, and part of the justification for setting a budget was to give greater clarity and certainty to the round table in terms of organising the event. And I'm really grateful that they do organise the event. I think there are considerable community safety benefits deriving from it, as they say, without having informal or other smaller firework displays and bonfires. And I think it is good to have a big community event that draws everybody together in a safe space. I have no problem with the round table having a charitable collection at the event, and if they're able to donate money to good causes out of the generosity of people putting their hand in their pockets at the end of the event or during the event, then good luck to them. I don't think that the event is going to be jeopardised if we give them £20,000 as opposed to £25,000. I think there was good reasons for us establishing a budget for this in the first place. Yeah, I can understand your logic in terms of there's a bit of surplus left over from last year. I do think it is in danger of setting a precedent, Deputy Provost, and I think therefore that sticking with the £20,000 budget would be consistent with what we've done in the past, and a good strong contribution from the council, working in partnership with local charitable organisations and charities, and I'm happy to move that.
In strict procedural terms, if you mine's the motion for 20,000 plus 5, then you're proposing an amendment of the 20,000. Yep, okay. And I'm assuming you have a seconder for that 20,000. Okay, certainly. And okay, and what's the point? Do I have a seconder for the motion? John, thank you very much. Okay, unless, yes, please do.
Just in seconding that, I was really suspicious about giving £30,000 actually, but I'm a little bit persuaded by your arguments that we didn't give them anything last year, and maybe 25 is a compromise. I do have a lot of sympathy with what Councillor Barrett says, and particular in what I think is a separate issue about, I'm very comfortable about them raising money for charity. Actually, I think that's two separate issues to how much we grant them. So I have a lot of sympathy with the amendment, but I think what you've proposed is actually a fair compromise. So quite happy to second your motion.
Councillor Hurson, quickly.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a point of clarification. You mentioned about this is their third application. Do we consider applications from organisations in 3 yearly cycles, and then once they've had that grant over that time frame, or is it a situation that an organisation can make multiple applications over time? Thank you.
No, but there is nothing to stop any organisation, if you like, coming back and again to seek support from the Common Good Fund. What is slightly different about the fireworks and the Mela, and in a smaller sum the Carillon, is that, if you like, within the guidelines of the common good, we have made standing annual provision for those events. We make standing annual provision, but if you like, that is not an automatic grant in a sense. They still have to make a bid for those funds. Does that answer your concern? Thank you. Okay, then we have a motion and an amendment. Adam, if you can take us to the vote. Thank you.
Thanks, convener. Yeah, we'll move to a roll call vote. We have a motion by by Deputy Provost Parrott, which is to award £20,000 with an additional £5,000 from the money not spent last year. That's seconded by Councillor Rebeck. We have an amendment by Councillor Peter Barrett, which is to award a grant of £20,000, seconded by Councillor Massey. When I call your name, if you can indicate whether you're voting for the motion or the amendment. Bailey Ahern. Councillor Liz Barrett. Councillor Peter Barrett. Councillor Chan.
Amendment.
Councillor Donaldson.
Abstain.
Councillor McPherson.
Amendment.
Councillor Mayor.
Motion.
Councillor Massey.
Amendment.
Councillor McCall.
Amendment.
Deputy Provost.
Motion.
And Councillor Rebeck.
Motion.
I have 3 votes for the motion, 7 votes for the amendment, with 1 abstention. Therefore, the amendment will carry.
Thank you very much. And I think, given the conversation we've had about the business of the charitable donations, I will ask Sarah to, if you like, make further inquiries with them in the next year as to just how they do that and how that plays out, because I think that's it raises a relevant issue. Like Councillor Barrett Peter, I have no issues with them doing that, but I think perhaps you know, we need to bottom that out a bit more. Thank you. Moving on, then we move on to the parents. No, we don't. We move on to the cost of living grants, and the first one is Our Lady's Primary School Parent Council. Our Lady's Primary School Parent Council is seeking a grant of £1,633.95 to contribute towards the cost of a whole school trip to the pantomime in December 2025. We've covered trips that they've done before, and this to me is the sort of thing that the Common Good Fund should be supporting, and I'm happy to recommend that we make a grant of the full amount that they're requesting of £1,633.95 for this pantomime trip. Are there any questions, or can we agree that? Agreed, thank you. Moving on then, now we have the parents and friends of Riverside Primary School are seeking £2,200 towards their suite of wider achievement opportunities. This to me is frankly very similar, although similar but different from Our Ladies. And again, I would like to recommend that we give them a grant of the full £2,200 that they are seeking. Do we have any questions, or can we agree that? Councillor Rebecca.
Thanks, Convener. It's just a very brief comment which applies to this application as it does to the last. I really welcome these kind of bids by parent councils, because this particular one is effectively a parent council. It's exactly what Common Good Fund should be doing. There's stuff in here that both Riverside Primary and Our Ladies Primary want to do that wouldn't happen. They just wouldn't happen without these bids. So I think it's worth making that point, and I'm entirely supportive of your efforts to see them get the money, Convener. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are a wide range of organisations who can apply for small and larger sums from the common good, but I make no bones about it. This is the sort of application that I enjoy being able to give the opportunity to support. Thank you. In that case, are we agreed on the £2,200? Agreed. Thank you. We now move on to the Perth Minorities Association, who are seeking a grant of £9,800 towards their Warm Safe Spaces initiative. I fully support, if you like, the intent behind this. We made a grant of £6,848 last year for the Safe Space initiative. I have to admit that reading the papers, for the sum of money involved, nearly £10,000, the number of people benefiting is actually, to my mind, relatively small. And whilst I would want to give support to the Perth Minorities Association, I think, as outlined, the support they're looking for is very large. And I would like to recommend to committee that we give them a grant of half what they're looking for, which is £4,900. Are there any questions, or can we Councillor Mayor Carroll?
Thank you, convener. I had a question and a comment, if I may. My question was, do we know where the new premises are? Because it says that this facilities cost at PME new premises. Do we know where they're based?
Sarah?
I couldn't tell you exactly where it is. Ah, perfect. I just know that it's there. So
Deputy Provost, they're at the end of the high street, entered from the rear opposite the City Mills Hotel at the car parks.
Okay, does that answer your question, Councillor Mayor?
It does. And if I may make my comment, please.
Please do.
Thank you. My comment is that initially my thought was exactly the same as yours. It's a relatively low number of beneficiaries should we give them that amount of money. But in light of some of the other protests, etc., that are happening in Perth just now, I think over the next 12 months, the case for having a safe space for our minorities might increase so that there will additionally be more beneficiaries. And that was my thought, would be a good idea to give them the money. Thank you.
I have no difficulty at all, Councillor Mayor, with anything that you say. If you'd like to propose an amendment to that effect, then please do.
I would like to propose an amendment that in light of continuing growth in the number of users, that we will indeed give them the full grant asked for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barrett, please, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, very happy to second Councillor Mayor in her motion. I think she makes amendment. Sorry. Thank you for interrupting my flow, Councillor Barrett. Very happy to second.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a Councillor Massey, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. At 617, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but at 617 it says that the Perth minorities, they've got 20,000 for 23-24 for the Mela Festival. This is money that they've received. Now at 4.4, now this is where I don't know, was it the Perth minorities that applied for the grant of, I can't remember, I'll just find it. The grant of, sorry, 17,500 for 25-26.
Can you throw light on this, Sarah?
sorry, I'd have to ask you to repeat that.
Well,
I understand that they got the 23-24. They were awarded £20,000 for the Mela.
yes.
That was prior to the Mela Association forming. So at that point,
Right, so it's the Mela last year was the 25-26 grant of 17,500 went to the Mela Association, not the Perth minorities.
the money for the Mela this year and last year would have been for the Mela Association. Yes, not Perth Minorities Association.
Right, okay.
My understanding is that the Mela used to be done by Perth minorities. There's now specific organisations.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Yep. So that if you like, it's correct what it said here.
Yeah.
But the monies for the Mela now go to the Mela Association, and they indeed are one of our other standing set asides. Thank you. Are there any further questions on this one? Bailey Ahern.
I'm happy to second your motion.
Thank you, Roch. In that case, there being no further questions, Adam, if you can take us to the vote. Thank you.
Thanks, convener. Yeah, we'll just go straight to a roll call vote. We have a motion proposed by yourself, which is to award a grant of £4,900, seconded by Bailey Ahern. We have an amendment proposed by Councillor Mayor, which is to award the full amount, seconded by Councillor Barrett. Sorry, Councillor Peter Barrett. When I call your name, if you can indicate whether you're voting for the motion or the amendment. Bailey Ahern.
Motion.
Councillor Liz Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Peter Barrett.
Amendment.
Councillor Chan.
Motion.
Councillor Donaldson.
Abstain.
Councillor McPherson.
Amendment.
Councillor Mayor,
Amendment.
Councillor Massey,
Motion.
Councillor McCall,
Amendment.
Deputy Provost,
Motion.
Councillor Rebeck.
Amendment.
I have 4 votes for the motion, 6 votes for the amendment with 1 abstention. Therefore, the amendment will carry.
Thank you very much, members. That's fine. We'll move on now to Ad-lib Arts. Ad-lib Arts, sorry, musical theatre and drama charity requesting £2,250 to provide free spaces in some of their classes. I again thoroughly applaud their desire to open up what they offer to those who cannot afford the costs of taking part. And again, as with others today, I'm more than happy to recommend that we grant the full amount that they're looking for of £250. I think this is a worthwhile venture. Are there questions, or can we agree that? Agreed, thank you. We now move on to the capital grants, and be ready to come back, John. Yes, the first small application for capital grants under the equipment heading is Bertha Park Football Club seeking £952.94 towards equipment for their new adult amateur football team. This is Bertha Park in the sense that that's where they will be playing their matches, but my understanding is that the vast majority of the participants come from the Letham and Tulloch area, which is well within our Perth Common Good boundary. So I have no qualms on that score. I note that the team themselves, or team members, are proposing to make a contribution of half of the costs, and therefore I would be happy on this occasion. It's a relatively small amount. To me, it would be churlish to cut it down, if you like. I know that's what our guidelines say, but they're guidelines, and I'd like to recommend that we make them the grant of the full £952.94 for this. Agreed? Okay, agreed, thank you. Moving on then to Early Years Scotland. Early Years Scotland are seeking £2,192 towards the purchase of additional support needs sensory equipment for their children affected by parental imprisonment programme. This is a slightly larger amount, but I think to me it's a very good cause and a worthwhile venture. And again, I would like to recommend that we make the full grant of what they're requesting of the £2,192. Are we agreed on that, or are there? Sorry, Councillor McCall, a question.
Thank you. Just curious, do we know what the funding that was they received last year was used for?
It was to purchase the initial resources for they initially set up the programme and purchased resources, and this new application is for additional ASN resources which weren't included in the previous application.
Councillor Barrett?
Just wanted to comment very briefly in support of the the application and also the sort of wider context of the applications before us at the Common Good Fund today. For me, it is really heartening to see such a large number of applications which are going to benefit young people, school pupils, and voluntary uniformed organisations, and in this case, young people with additional support needs. And I think in the previous application, minority ethnic community being supported by the Perth Common Good Fund. So I think it's really good to see such strong inclusion and diversity and equalities aspects to the Common Goods support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, I do take every opportunity I can, as I know a number of members know, to advertise the Perth Common Good Fund and suggest to people that they should make application. And it's nice to see that that is being reflected in a number of bids that they're making. And indeed, even in the past couple of weeks, I have been suggesting to a number of organisations that perhaps they could make application to their advantage. Councillor McCall.
Thank you. It's clear from this, at least I'm reading into this, that it's only for children attending Perth Prison, but of course that's an all-male prison, and there may be mothers of children who live in this area who may need to travel elsewhere. So it might be worthwhile when we're feeding back to them to ask, is there any need there? Because parental contact at women's prisons is substantially lower than parental contact at all male prisons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we can follow up on that. Thank you. Are we agreed then that we make the grant of £2,192? Agreed. Thank you very much. We now move on to the last of the capital grant applications. That is for the 5th Perth Girl Guides, and they are seeking £952 towards startup resources for the group. It's nice to see another group of this nature being set up. I know it's always hard to find the adult volunteers to lead these things, and so to me it's a very positive sign that we have a new Girl Guides group setting up. And exactly in accordance with what I said earlier, I see that there is no indication of, if you like, contribution from the members themselves here, but the amount actually is, to my mind, quite small for a significant impact and beneficial effect for the members. And again, I'd like to recommend that we grant the full amount that they're asking for of £952. Are we agreed? Sorry, first of all, Councillor Liz Barrett.
I just wanted to comment on this application. I know this is a new group, they're just setting up, and they are making efforts to fundraise for their activities as well so that they can do more with the girls. And they're running a tombola this year, so if anybody's got anything they want to give to it, if they give it to me, I'll pass it on.
Thank you very much. No, I know there's no formal, if you like, contribution here, but it's simply a fact of life that these groups don't work or without actually doing a certain amount of fundraising themselves. So I think it's always, we can always take that in a sense as implied, even if it's not part of a bid. Thank you very much. That concludes item 5. We now move on to item 6, which is the financial statement. And do we have Alison O'Brien waiting in the wings to introduce this paper? Alison.
Thank you, Convener. This report provides for noting the details of the income and expenditure for the fund to 30th of June 25 and the outturn for the financial year 25-26. The financial statement in Appendix 1 includes the approved budget from February 2025. There's also a proposed variant to the budget to reflect the disclosures for new accounting for leases, which, although amends the disclosure between expenditure lines, does not impact on the surplus for the year. The projected deficit has reduced to 14,705 from 31,000 at the last meeting, due mainly to increased income from REDS fees and charges of 3,000 and 11,000 on interest on investments. The estimated fund balance at 31st of March 26 of 2,151,766 is an increase of approximately 29,000 from the last meeting, due partly to this additional income just mentioned and a movement of 12,500 in the opening balance, which arose from additional interest on the investment income since finalising the 24-25 annual accounts. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Alison. Are there any questions in respect of this report? No. It's a delight to me that we now appear to be at a situation where, if you like, the baseline value of the common good has moved up from the sort of 1.5 million mark to the 2 million mark, and to me that's entirely in keeping with what I see as being a proper conduct of the common good fund, in a sense that it's not for us to spend money for those that follow in the future, and we have a, to my mind, duty to maintain the capital value of the common good fund. And if it's now at a value of 2 million as opposed to 1.5 million a number of years ago, I think we are achieving that. Can we agree this paper then? Agreed. Thank you. We now move on to the private papers, of which there are 3. I think we have to come out of the meeting that we're in at the moment and rejoin the private meeting. So if members can quickly do that, I'd be grateful. Thank you.